Hi guys, welcome to my garden. Thank you for stopping in. I wanted to give everyone a little health update of what has been going on recently in my little health bubble. I kind of shared a little bit of what has been going on Facebook slash I think Instagram, but I want to kind of give a drawn out video just kind of explaining everything that has been going on. So for the past 8 years, and even longer, it's actually been years before that. Little things have kind of built up to this. Um, Things have been happening where doctors have kind of said, you're a medical anomaly. We don't know what's going on with you. You're just a mystery. Things are happening in your body and we don't know why. In 2015, I lost feeling in my hand. It started to go numb. It was tingly. I lost feeling in my hand and part of my arm. And then I lost feeling in my leg. And they couldn't figure out why. And then from there, I didn't have feeling for a few years. And then it just randomly came back. Around that same time that it came back, though, I started having these instances of I would get like a zoning out, like I felt like I was gonna pass out, and I would, and it would happen the most random times. I would just be driving and I would start to feel it coming on, so I would have to pull over, and then it would happen. And this was back in like 2019 when that happened. So they did spinal tap, they did CTs, MRIs, all kinds of tests, and they couldn't figure out what it was. They thought it was intracranial hypertension. They said that there was pressure. They said that there was optic disc pressure in my eyes, all kinds of fun things. But the question lied, what was causing it? And nobody could answer that. There was all of these things happening and they just kept treating, and one thing after the other. They would treat, something else would happen. They would treat, something else would happen. They couldn't figure it out. Nobody could figure it out. And it was just over and over and over and over again. Now, can I hear? Okay, it seems like my dog is behind me eating the asparagus that is freshly growing in the garden. I'm gonna let her do it. So they couldn't figure it out. It had been years. Things were just ongoing. I had so many other things that were going on. One thing that happens, and it's happened for years, is that I get a flushing reaction for almost anything. I can eat, I can take showers, I can go to the pool, hot, cold, walking outside, basically anything. I would just get this like crazy red flushing reaction on my skin. Not often hives, like sometimes there'd be hives, but it wasn't too often. It was generally just a very red flushing, just all over my skin. It would be on my face, it would be, my chest, arms, back, just all over. And I would get hot, like extremely hot. And, they couldn't figure that out. They didn't know. They just, threw it out the window. Also, another thing is that I didn't know if it was reactions to food. So my doctor started looking into mast cell activation syndrome. She sent me to an allergist because she started to put the pieces together. She was like, look, all this thing that's been going on, maybe it's this. So we went to a nutritionist an allergist, and they started doing tests, and they put me on some H1H2 blockers. And crazy, since I've been on them, I've been on for a couple weeks now, and I feel different. Like it's hard to explain. Like I still have the inflammation and the pain, and like things hurt. Like my skin doesn't hurt. Like one thing that was happening, and it's happened to me since I was a child, is sheets and clothing and like the feeling of things touching my skin burned. I would lay on sheets, and if there were wrinkles on sheets, I would have burn marks on my skin. And it was just, I'd wake up, or I'd even just sit up from it happening, and I would have these burns on my skin. And it's been happening for years. I remember when I think I was in like 7th grade, I told my stepmom, I used to not sleep naked, I sleep naked, because I can't stand clothes when I'm sleeping. But I think I was in 7th grade, and I told my stepmom one day, I was like, clothes are comfortable. And she was like, just sleep naked. And like, that was a game changer for me, because it was like, night and day of clothes hurting, clothes not. I didn't explain to her, why. I just said, it's uncomfortable. But I didn't know how to explain, these sheets hurt me, these clothes hurt me. I just said it was uncomfortable. And I went through that my whole life. Things were just so uncomfortable. Certain fabrics were uncomfortable. I couldn't wear certain things. Tags, they just, second they touch my skin, it's like huge rash. But anyways, so many things. But the allergist, she did say, it is mast cell activation syndrome. So we started treating, and just so many things have felt so much better for me. And now I'm also going on this adventure. Now, the other thing that we noticed with the mast cell is, apparently one thing that doctors have ruled out for years for me, because they didn't know what was causing it, is I have had what everyone has just labeled hummingbird, like being like a hummingbird for years. My heart rate, my resting heart rate, when I am like falling asleep, when I am just relaxing, is always between 99 and 115. They check my heart rate constantly, and when they do, they're like, is it normal that you're at like 125? Because you're at 125 right now. And I'll just be sitting there doing absolutely nothing, and I'm like, yeah, no, totally normal. And so they always make the joke of me being like a hummingbird, but apparently it's related to the mast cell. So it tracks. And so now all these puzzle pieces are going together. But the other thing with my health, I mentioned before, is that I was going to start seeing a naturopath and going to a holistic health center. I have been going for about 3 weeks now. I had my appointment, I had my blood work, I had a wavy brain scan, which was so cool. I have not gotten the results for the wavy brain scan. I go on the 11th for that. I did, however, get my results for my blood test. God, my blood was a mess. I had no idea how much my blood was a mess, but there were so many things that were wrong. They tested for so many different things that my regular doctors just never tested for. But there was a lot of things that I was, flagging for, and like inflamed, and they could just see so much stuff. And they recommended that I look into having my gut restored. So I'm going through the process. It's a 3-month process of doing a gut restore program. And I just did my GI mapping. So I sent off my kit, and I'm waiting for that to come back. I'll get the results. I have on the 16th, I think. Not the 16th. I think the 10th. I don't know. I get the results sometime in the next couple weeks for the GI mapping. So I'll be able to see what is going on in my digestive tract, like if there's anything inflaming it, what's happening. Because I've never actually had any of that tested, but apparently your like GI tract is like the center of everything, and if there's inflammation there, you're gonna have inflammation in your body, and the only way to like heal all that is to heal your gut, which I've always heard about that and thought about it, but never attempted to kind of heal that. And I've always had these issues, and I have the alpha gal, so I have that problem, and apparently I have a casein allergy, and all these other things. But I'm going through the process of doing that and hopefully healing my gut, and that should alleviate a lot of the things. So I'm going to go on this path of doing that. And in this process, it's going to tackle the stuff going on with my interstitial cystitis as well as my PCOS. So I'm really afraid about this, but my main goal is to get off all medications that I'm on. I'm currently on 8 different medications, and my goal in the next 4 to 5 months is to be off all medications and be doing everything as naturally as possible. And I am starting the AIP diet on the 13th. My nutrition appointment is on the 11th. I start the diet on the 13th, and I'm going to be doing food eliminations. I'm also doing a food sensitivity test to see what foods I'm sensitive to in general, but I'm really nervous about that. And obviously I'm going to keep everyone updated as far as my progress and, you know, what happens. But yeah, so, and also the other thing that I found out was that I did mention this in my last video, I did tear my hip in 3 different places. The tears are pretty bad. My doctor wants me to go see an orthopedic surgeon to go see what next steps are for that. However, after speaking to my holistic doctor, she used to, prior to practicing holistic medicine, used to work in sports medicine doing tears, and used to do all the surgeries for that kind of stuff, and used to specialize in doing stuff with like hips and those kind of tears. And she said to me, you know, if they recommend doing surgery, don't. It's one of the biggest thing that all of my old patients used to say they regretted was getting the surgeries. So she has a couple things that she's recommended that I try. She also said, you know, steer clear from cortisone shots, which I already knew because, you know, when I messed up my ankle a few years ago, they kept pushing cortisone shots, and I kept saying, no, I still have the ankle issue, but I would rather have that than the cortisone shots, because those are totally just a Band-Aid. But she has recommended a couple things, and she said that as soon as I know what the orthopedic surgeon says, we'll go from there and see how I can work on healing it without surgery, because she said there are ways to do it because the tear is not a complete tear. Well, all 3 tears aren't complete tears, so they can potentially heal. It's just you have to work on it, even though they're pretty bad. So fingers crossed with all of this, we can kind of get it working and I can heal and get to a place where, you know, 10, 20, 30 years from now, I'm not reliant on medications. I can do all of this comfortably and kind of live off my garden and have a healthy lifestyle without worrying that I'm gonna have to, you know, be going to the doctors every day or two. So that's my ultimate goal. And, you know, I think eating, you know, real food from the garden is definitely going to help. And yeah, so thank you for watching. And I'm sorry that was a long video. I know it has been a long journey, and I definitely am going to update it. And I mean, that was only a small tidbit of the journey. There has been so much more. I mean, people have been telling me for a while, once I get to a point of, you know, possibly healing myself, I should write it all down, the whole journey. And I very well may, because it has been, it's been a lot. Yeah, I'm only 32, and I go to doctors and they look at my file, and I've literally had doctors hug me and be like, wow. Yeah, so it's been a lot. But yeah, so thank you for watching, and you guys have a good Easter weekend.